Thank you, Josh, for giving me the opportunity to share my opinion on this topic. Men are sensitive too, I believe. It's very interesting and great at the same time to listen to this podcast. And I really wanted to start by addressing the questions to the ladies. I wanted to start with that first. Can you handle a man's emotional or downtime? But then I thought about it, and it's not that black and white. Humans are a lot more complex than that. Um, I'm going to start with first and first, society and culture. So we are a product of our environment. We all, as much as I can remember, right from when I was little, we're told that boys don't show emotion. Remembering when I was little, if a girl cried, they'd be like, "Oh, beautiful girl, oh, baby, poor baby, you're hugged, you're calm down." But if a boy cries, I remember all these things, like I experienced it. You hear stuff like, "Big boy like you, don't you have shame? Why is a boy like you crying? Be a man." So most people, both men and women, don't really experience, like as you get older, like when you're in secondary school, we don't really experience men cry. We don't really experience men show emotion, or the earliest or the older we get, the most expressions I've seen from men is that of anger and like aggressiveness. You don't really see the soft side. So it's not really a woman problem per se, like women can't understand. It's just that kind of general knowledge. And even when the boys or the men, when during their downtime, you'll find that they don't even go to their fellow men. Yeah, so they don't even approach their fellow men and start like crying or complaining to them, as opposed to how you will see a woman behave during her downtime. When I was little, I've had so many young ladies then or women come to my mom crying, and then my mom is hugging them and telling them sorry and advising and helping and doing whatever. You can't really see that with men. If the guys will say things like be a man, take it like a man, that's how things are, you'll be fine, deal with it, bro. But they're not really. It's really hard for actually men to start complaining to their fellow men. So most men, from my understanding, they may as well just invite other men out for a beer or a game, for example, and just like chill with them and use it to deal with their problem. They don't, I don't know. I mean, I stand to be corrected if they actually go crying to their fellow men about their problem, you know. So of course I would admit that lots of women will struggle to empathize with a man during his downtime, but for many reasons. One being conditioning. Like I said earlier, we've been conditioned this way from early life. Second could be like the way or the circumstances surrounding that expression. So, what was happening before that incident, before the man broke down? A great man who's always been, nice, jovial, or things like that, and one day break down. I don't really think there's any woman in her right sense that will uh back away from that situation. A woman will want to hug you and make sure you are okay, unless of course that's not a good woman. That's a different topic. But it does matter what was happening before, like how that incident presented itself. In this case, it becomes complex. Like it could be that when the man is having her that time downtime, the woman is also dealing with her own stuff. Like there are so many circumstances that could lead to a woman not being supportive. Under normal circumstances, I don't really see a woman that will not be supportive. Okay, like the story your guest told about a man that was really great and then had to cry behind the wife's uh behind her. Like I want to believe that there is more to that story, because if that was a good woman and you've been a good man, then that is a bonding moment. That's really a moment for her to support you. So if she's not able to support you, I would like to know why. It has, or maybe it's just again conditioning. You've been conditioned to believe that you shouldn't do this, so you didn't even get the support that you needed at that point. Okay. But then again, I've had, again, talking about like circumstances, I've had many stories of men like crying and bawling their eyes out, which turned out to be like a manipulative tactics. Like they're trying to convince a girl to stay with them. It's not really because they're sorry. And then, you know, or to get their way, they are looking for something. They act all sad and all that. And, but it's not really because of an actual suffering or them having a downtime. It's just because when you see them cry like that, it touches you. You will stay. You will do whatever they want. So it could also be just like women can do. It could also be a manipulative tactic. So that's why I'm asking, what is the deal? Like, what are the circumstances surrounding that crime? Because if a man is crying before me as a form of manipulation, I will walk out. Like, I will not be able to empathize. Okay. But for me personally, one of the questions I like to ask a guy that I'm getting to know. So if I meet a new friend, a guy, and think for the first time or newish, one of the things I like to ask them is, when was the last time you cried? And I'm extremely relieved when the guy tells me a good story of when and why they cried. Because you're a human. You're not a robot. I like to know that when you are overwhelmed, you express it by crying rather than by anger and being destructive. I rather know that you are human, you have a good heart, and you rather cry than destroy things or hurt someone or get angry. Or no, that's not, for me, that's not a healthy way to express emotion, which is how most guys will express emotion. But in general speaking, the best way to improve mental health and boost positive emotion is to provide education on it. Continue creating awareness, which is again what is so great about this podcast. This awareness is much needed. It's much, in fact, it's long overdue. And honestly speaking, we need to go back to the foundation. Okay, we need to go back to this young generation. Maybe we got it wrong with our generation, but the next generation, we need to teach the younger boys to express their emotion in a healthy way. Okay, we need to let them know that expressing their emotion is a good thing. Being vulnerable is a good thing. It's human thing. Is You're not a robot. Okay, and we need to talk more about men's mental health, their depression. We need to keep hammering it until it sinks in, because honestly, as a woman, I do sometimes I do struggle to empathize because I don't get it. The men don't talk, you understand? And I shouldn't be the one to dig it out of you. In fact, it's like the more you try to ask questions, the more they recoil. So they don't talk about it. How are we supposed to know what you don't talk about? So it needs to be talked about by men, not by women, by men. And it needs to be talked about more often so that we can become aware, we can be educated, we can know what's going on, and then know the best way. Like, you're not just telling us what you're going through, you're telling us how best to support you. So we need to teach the younger generation, because we learn best when we are young. It becomes hard to let go of old beliefs as we get older. So those of us that are older now, we'll struggle to pick up, but nevertheless, we have to continue to speak on these issues until we see improvement. I hope I can join you on next time, but for now, thanks again for letting me be here. Bye.